This 87.7.
You've been gone, it's an empty home. Come on back where you really belong. You are always welcome home, welcome home. You've been kept down for much too long. Stand up, please, and say I am free. Don't forget you are welcome home, welcome home. Come with me on this happy trip back to the promised land. All will be happy again. Come with me on this happy trip back to the promised land.
This 87.7.
You've been kept down for much too long. Stand up, please, and say I am free. Don't forget you are welcome home, welcome home. Come with me on this happy trip back to the promised land. You've been gone, it's an empty home. Come on back where you really belong. You are always welcome home, welcome home. Come with me on this happy trip back to the promised land.
All right, sorry for the delay. We are set, and so very soon we have Nana Kwamina Krah on the line, and so we'll begin the conversation. Hello, Nana, can you hear me? Hello, Nana, can you hear me? Okay, so we'll back shortly to begin the discussion.
You've been gone, it's an empty home. Come on back where you really belong. You are always welcome home, welcome home. You've forget you are welcome home, welcome home.
Hello, good day, Nana.
Good day. How are you?
Hello, Nana, good day.
Good day. Good day.
I hope you can hear me.
I hear you fine.
Okay, so um, hello, Nana.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, hello, Nana.
Hello,
Nana, can
hello.
you hear me?
I hear you.
You okay? All right, that is perfect. Good evening. It's afternoon in Ghana. I know it's morning. Getting to midday in the United States of America.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Okay. All right. So, Nana, before we begin the conversation, our listeners are very much interested in knowing who Nana Kwamina Krah II is. So, if you can give us a background of yourself by way of introduction.
Okay, no problem. Madasi, I am a 76-year-old elder living in Cleveland, Ohio, in the U.S. I have a background in education. I've been a mathematics teacher at the high school level, the intermediate level, and the primary level. I'm also have experience in a college level. I hold a PhD degree in educational psychology from Case Western Reserve University. I hold a Juris Doctorate from Cleveland State University, the Marshall College of Law, and I have been a practicing attorney for about 25 years. I have maintained a family practice in educational psychology since the mid 60s. I'm also an installed chief in the village of Atonquois in the central region ever since 2004. And my title in the village is Tupahin to the Chief Nana Kwamina Krah V. I've been working on projects in Ghana since 2004 in developing our village and working as much as possible with others to develop their consciousness and awareness so that it might move Ghana forward. In addition to that, I have started and managed a number of charter schools in Ohio, one of which we manage currently is Wings Academy, which is a award-winning school that's based on African-centered thinking and ways of doing things for our students to help them develop into Pan-African thinking young people and hopefully adults so that they might make a change in the US and also understand their brothers and sisters on the continent much better. I'm a father of two twin daughters, Ata, Abba, born on Thursday, and they have three children of their own, and I'm a proud grandfather as well. So that's a short overview.
Oh, that is very wonderful. I guess you've done extensive work in your life, but you mentioned that you are sort of a chief to Fuhin in Atonkwa in the central region, and that is why you have the name Nana Kwamina Krah II.
Yes,
It,
exactly.
it tells me that you've been working in our part of the world, Africa. And if you can give us some of the things that you have done in Africa, I think my listeners would appreciate it.
Well, I've traveled not as extensively as I would like, but I've been to Kemet or Egypt several times, studying the ancient history of our people that's been very well documented and still stands in Egypt. I've been to Senegal, I've been to the Ivory Coast, and I've been to Ghana since 1992, about 60 different times, studying the traditional rites of passage, socialization, processing. And in our village of Atonkwa, we have built one of, if not the finest child development center in Ghana, is in our village, which was done in collaboration with a very good friend of mine, is Yvonne Pointer, and is a legacy to her slain daughter, Gloria Pointer. We also built a community center after my installation that is the first two-story building in our area. It's used to house programs, visitors, student groups, and we are working on developing through our Atonko Development Company in 4 areas: infrastructure, health and wellness, housing, and education. Education being the one that's nearest and dearest to my heart, because I've been a career educator ever since 1960. So to me, education is the key to our future, and we have to work diligently to improve and tailor the education process to our own needs. So I hope that helps a little bit. I know time may be shorter than we had anticipated, but
Yes, yes. I
that
think,
was,
because it's going to be a weekly program, I'm sure we'll have the opportunity to look at all these. Okay, so let me move from your person to Pan Africanism. I think since the mid 1950s, the early 1960s, we've been working towards achieving a united Africa. Um, Governments have done their part. Last year, the president, Nana Kwamina launched the Year of Return in anticipation to deepen Pan Africanism and also to connect or connect with our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. First of all, how do you make of the Year of Return project that the president Nana Kwamina launched last year, which was successful? And going forward, he says it is beyond the return. How do you look at how what do you say about the whole project of return
I,
and beyond the return?
I think the year of return is a very good, and I don't want to sound critical, but it's a very, very good first major step in the right direction. The year of return marked the point in time where the diaspora was officially invited home to some place, Ghana taking the lead, but Ghana traditionally has taken the lead through liberation, Kwame Nkrumah. So Ghana is known for taking the first important steps in the right direction. So the year of return was just another example of Ghana's leadership to take this first major step, which invited the diaspora to Ghana, and the response was overwhelming. I think the response was far in excess of what anybody anticipated, and it has spawned, as we would expect, other African nations to make similar requests. So this is a historic uh, declaration by His Excellency Akufo-Addo, and the decade of Beyond the Return will only add to the historic nature of this declaration, and it will lay the groundwork for generations to come to continue to build upon the things that have been started during this upcoming 10-year period. So this is a big, big first step, and I am very happy to be around at the time that that step is being taken. And I hope that we can continue to build on it in some significant ways, that just coming home won't accomplish all of our needs.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nana. Nana, I am grateful to have you. If you are doing the listening, this is the Diaspora Hour, the maiden edition, and the program is to connect with our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. And so this afternoon, we are privileged to have on air, Dr. David Whitaker. He is the how do I put it? He is also the Tufohin for Atonkwa in the central region, Nana Kwamina Krah II. So we have him and we are having a conversation on the work that he's doing and then Pan Africanism. Nana, it looks as if even though we've been working towards achieving a united Africa, but our efforts are not enough. How are we going to change the narrative, if I may ask?
We have to, well, let me put it this way, not to be too esoteric about it, but there's a simple phrase, proverb almost, that Ghanaians are familiar with and most Africans, and we say it in the US all the time. It takes a village to raise a child. What we don't realize when we use this phrase, because it sounds very communal, Pan-African, if you will, in a sense, but it leaves out important components to what that requires. It takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a culture to support a village. And what does a culture do? A culture has four basic important elements or pillars. One is to teach people how to interpret reality. The second is to teach them how to behave so that we can develop people in accordance with the ideas of reality that we want to perpetuate. Third, the culture has to govern, support, monitor, and perpetuate and protect itself. Otherwise, it will die. And finally, the culture has to develop a mechanism to convey all of those previous elements that I stated to the next generation. And that's where education comes in, because education is the process by which culture is communicated to the next generation. So depending upon the interests, goals, and objectives of those that develop the educational process, they will develop the next generation to adopt these ideas, develop those skills, think in a way that those is consistent with the needs or the desires or the goals of the ones that have put the education in place. Which brings us to how we can change the narrative. The current narrative has been that Africa is backwards. African people are unsophisticated, they're uneducated, they're incapable of doing things. And so all of those narratives will have to be changed, which takes me to very quickly, the first scramble for Africa happened in 1884-85 after the Berlin Conference. The Africa that we see today is the Africa that has been created by outsiders. Europeans created the African nations that we see today. Ghana was not Ghana in 1885. Senegal, Sierra Leone, Zimbabwe, the Ivory Coast, Chad, none of those places existed until after the Berlin Conference, 1885. So now we have 55 nations that didn't exist before 1800, 1885, 1884. So the Europeans came into Africa on the first scramble for the country. They were met with one major obstacle, and that was to take over control of the land. But in order to fully take over, you have to take over the control of the minds of the people that are on the land. So the Africans fought this invasion tenaciously, but ultimately the Europeans subdued the African people and then worked to convert their thinking and teaching them in ways that would benefit the Europeans' goals, objectives, and needs. So to really change this narrative, you see, now we have a problem that we're in 2020, and the second scramble for Africa is already in motion. But this scramble, unless we change the way we think and what we aspire to, will be much easier than the first, because at this time, the African minds have been changed.
Nana, before you continue, let me ask this question. You're
Okay,
saying that the second scramble for Africa is in motion. What do you mean by that?
what I mean by that is that there are people, nations outside of Africa that want to have what Africa has in terms of its resources, its minerals, its important assets that the rest of the world needs. So currently, the outsiders are maneuvering in a way so that they can gain better, greater control or maintain the control they've already enjoyed since 1885 or 1890, going into the rest of the 21st century. So there's a scramble of outsiders trying to gain foothold, the Chinese, the Europeans. All the visitors to Africa are not just responding to the call of President Akufo-Addo for the year of return. They're coming on their own in order to strengthen their position or strengthen their relationships so that they can gain things from Africa that will support their long-term goals and objectives. That's what I mean by
Okay,
the.
okay. So I think you've made a very wonderful observation. But then let me ask this question because for this scramble, the phenomenon. Let me put it. This phenomenon is not a new thing. We realize that from slavery to the colonization project, post colonization and globalization and all that, they are ways of perpetuating the dominance over Africa and the rest of the global south. Now, back to your question, how do we make sure that this current generation and the generations to come are able to overcome this dominance of the West?
Well, the way we're proposing is the same process that was used to create it, and that is a formalized development of future generations through education. Because you can't take things from people if the people are aware or more aware of the objectives and the goals and the maneuvers that they are being subjected to. So the reason I say that the second scramble would even be easier, because after the first scramble, the educational mechanism and the infrastructures to African nations were put in place by the people that colonized the continent. So the education process that's gone on for the past 7,500 years has convinced people on the continent that Africa is better if it mimics the West. Africa is better if it adopts all the ideas of Europe. Africa is better if it dresses like Europeans. The people are more acceptable if they look like Europeans. The people will be happier if they buy European products or they mimic European standards in every way. So from hairstyles to dress to infrastructure, from through the courts or through business arrangements or setups, everything on the continent is designed in order to mimic the ideas, the values, the objectives of outsiders. So we have to change. We won't have Pan-Africanism unless you recreate a Pan-African mind a consciousness that understands that Africa existed quite well for probably 5,500 years before anyone on the African continent ever saw an outsider that you would call a European or a Westerner. So
Okay.
we have to realize that we have functioned very well long before we adopted these ideas. So those ideas have to be removed and replaced by the ones that we had originally. That would be continental
And so
Pan Africanism.
Nana, how do we do that? How do we create African minds? But before that, if you just tune in, we are live on Facebook at Eagle FM Cape Coast. We are live on the internet at www.eaglefmonline.com. We are also live on radio, Eagle FM Cape Coast. We're having a conversation with Nana Kwamina Krah II. He is the Atonkwa, Tufuhini of Atonkwa traditional area in the central region. In private life, he is Dr. David Whitaker, is a legal practitioner, and he has practiced for 25 years. So we have over 25 years practicing experience as a legal person, and so we are privileged to have Nana on the line straight away from the United States of America. And the program is the Diaspora Hour. It's going to come your way each and every Saturday between 3 and 4 p.m. So Nana, I was asking that you mentioned that we need to create African minds if we are to decolonize. And so I'm asking you, how do we do that?
It sounds complicated, but it really isn't that complicated. If you think of it this way, almost all human behavior is learned behavior. Your job in the radio station right now, you've probably learned everything that you're doing right now. You weren't born knowing how to conduct yourself in this radio station public communication system. It's something you've learned. So, by comparison, a fish doesn't have to learn how to swim. A bird doesn't have to learn how to fly. But humans have to learn almost everything that they acquire in terms of skills, knowledge, and behavior. So the behavior that we exhibit today, 99% of the time, is something that we have learned. So when you say, how do we do that? We have to relearn things. We have to institute a learning process, a teaching learning process that teaches people different things than the things they know now. So we say, and most people will agree if you analyze it, that formalized education is the best process available to develop a different kind of person. So we would say you have an infrastructure now in Ghana of education from the age of 4 or 5 all the way through the university. Well, that education process, I would argue, is not creating an African mind in the student because it wasn't a process that was established by Ghanaians. It was established by outsiders to serve their interests during the colonial period. So until we analyze carefully what that's teaching and what is not teaching, we will discover what needs to be added. We believe in the Obakesa University of Excellence and its learning campus that we are proposing to develop, we will include, instill, and incorporate.
Before you tell us the vision and mission of
Right.
the Obokesi University of Excellence, I want you to tell my listeners may not know, they might not have heard of Obokesi University of Excellence before. And so, if you have mentioned it, what is it about? Is it a university in the United States of America, or is it in Ghana? What is the Obokese University of Excellence, of which you are the provost?
The Obokese University of Excellence will be not in the United States, it'll be in the Cebu traditional area, and it will be the first Pan-African, African-centered education facility or institution in Ghana and maybe on the African continent that we know about. Its sole purpose will be to develop an African-centered, Pan-African thinking student or graduate that will be able to move Ghana and hopefully the African continent through extension programs or others that will develop towards the kind of thinking that is needed to resurrect the African mind that has been subdued and transformed through the years of colonial control and continued colonial influence. So that is the basic, simple way of describing it. Because until African people think like Africans, they won't be able to develop the Africa that we want, because mentally they don't have the capacity to think about it in African terms. So the university and hopefully other spin-offs or programs that will develop is specifically geared towards the recreation of the African consciousness that will enable us to legitimately think in Pan-African terms and behave as Pan-African people, so that the African Continental Free Trade Area, for example, will function much more smoothly as a Pan-African enterprise that is taking full advantage of the benefits of African consciousness, as opposed to tweaking the European notions of business interaction. Because tweaking an idea that came from a colonizer is not going to benefit the African people nearly as much as if it was an African-centered, Pan-African consciousness generated activity. So that's the Obokese University mission and theory in a nutshell.
Anna, for that explanation. You mentioned that it will be a university in the United States of America, a university in Ghana at the Cebu traditional area. I am told that you run some programs and all that. Is it a future or a futuristic project? Because I have not seen the brick and mortar structure at Cebu. And so when you say it's a university in the United States and also in Ghana, how are you going to begin? Or if you have begun, how is it going?
Well, we have begun. I'm not sure if I may have miscommunicated, but there's no African Obokese University of Excellence in the United States. It's only going to be in Ghana at this point, in the Cebu traditional area. We are moving as we speak towards the sod cutting ceremony, which is scheduled for November 23rd. We're working diligently on program development, doing our needs assessment for what will be beneficial to Ghanaian students, that will have a conceptual foundation, but also a very practical application of the things that are learned. So we are engaged in these, so it will be in the future, but not the distant future. It's going to be in the future from this conversation, but we are moving very quickly to try to put in place those infrastructures that are important: the affiliation, the accreditation, the courses, the certification activities, and areas of study that will be most beneficial, because we recognize recognize that there's this scramble for Africa. And if we don't have a counter scramble to change the consciousness of Ghanaian people and African people, we will lose the race of the scramble that we already know is underway. So it will be in the future, but it's not a distant future. It's not another time. It's right around the corner. So we are putting up notices to inform the Ghanaian public about the coming of the school in the form of billboards that will advertise the school so that people will know that the university is coming. And it's coming, and we will continue. Programs like this will help us get the word out. We are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to put in place all of the necessary components that will make the University of Excellence, in fact, a demonstration model of that excellence that the name incorporates.
All right. Thank you very much, Nana. I think we have a lot to talk about, but then we have only 2 minutes left on our time, and so I think we'll wrap up. I'll give you the opportunity to give us your final word so that we continue the conversation next week. But before that, Nana mentioned that we are having a conversation with Nana Kwamina Krah II. He is Tufuhin of Atonkwa, a traditional area in the central region, and in private life, he is Dr. David Whitaker, and he's a legal practitioner. He has practiced for over 25 years, and he lives in the United States of America. So this afternoon in Ghana, and yes, and then it's afternoon also in the US where he is, and so we are connecting with him from his base in the United States of America. We've been talking about Pan-Africanism, how we can have a new mindset toward development. We've also discussed, we've had an intro into the Obokese University of Excellence, which we are told that on the 23rd of November 2020, a sword is going to be cut for construction work to begin. So, Nana, I'll come back to you, and so that we take your final words. God willing, next week we'll be here again to continue the discourse. It's a very nice conversation that we've begun. I'm sure it's good for all of us, especially for us in the global south. We need to be conscious about our development. Other than that, as you mentioned, we'll be copying, and at the end of the day, won't achieve anything. So, Nana, I'll continue the conversation next week, but before that, if you can wrap up, and then we'll leave you and continue next week.
I want to thank you for the opportunity to be on. Next week, I will have the supreme pleasure. I fly to Ghana this coming Wednesday. I'll be in Ghana on Thursday, and I will come by your station to meet you
that is
in person.
wonderful.